Good afternoon and welcome to today's New York City Council hearing for the Committee on Small Business. If you would like to submit testimony, you may at testimony@council.nyc.gov. At this time, please silence all electronic devices. Just as a reminder, no one may approach the dais. Thank you, Chair. We are ready to begin.
Great, thank you very much. Good afternoon. I'm Councilmember Julie Menin, Chair of the Committee on Small Business, and I just want to welcome everyone today. And thank you for joining today's hearing to discuss two of my bills, Introduction 845 and Resolution 243. I will be recognizing my colleagues as they come in, and I believe we're going to also be joined by the public advocate shortly. New York City's small businesses are integral to the landscape of our city. Our small businesses contribute to the vibrancy and uniqueness that makes New York City so special. Over the last 3 years, we've seen these small businesses struggle, unfortunately, in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Reports show that since the beginning of the pandemic, almost 26,000 small businesses were forced to shut down permanently. In response to the financial hardships from the pandemic, small businesses were forced to find alternate methods for funding. Financial assistance was made available at all levels of government to support struggling small businesses, and some business owners took out loans and cash advances from lenders throughout New York. However, in some of these cases, predatory lenders cause more strife for business owners through their use of confessions of judgment, which, when attached and signed with a business loan, leaves borrowers without their right to due process, and lenders can obtain judgments without a lawsuit. New York State has proposed legislation to ban the use of confessions of judgment in business loans in New York, and my resolution, Resolution 243, calls for the state legislature to pass these measures. However, the complexity and strenuous nature of owning a business does not stop with these efforts to maintain its financial stability. Business owners are also subject to numerous regulations and violations from city agencies. The makeup, intention, and severity of these violations can vary widely, and while some of these violations must be steadfastly upheld to protect our communities, others are unnecessarily onerous and complicate city businesses. New York City has previously introduced legislation to analyze and reform burdensome penalties. Local Law 80 of 2021 stands as a model for effectively reducing regulatory burdens and compliance costs through the elimination of penalties for certain first-time violations and provision of new opportunities to fix violations without paying a price, also, of course, known as curing. This local law was referenced as an example for the Adams administration's Executive Order 2, which sought to review and reform compliance costs on businesses. The culmination of this executive order was a list of recommendations of regulation reform from multiple city agencies, including the Departments of Consumer and Worker Protection, Health and Mental Hygiene, Environmental Protection, and Sanitation. These recommendations, which include over 40 penalty reductions for certain violations and new opportunities to cure violations, have been assembled into my bill, Intro 845. Today's hearing looks to ensure that the provisions outlined in Intro 845 are beneficial to small businesses and do not comprise the protections of consumers, workers, and communities. I look forward to hearing testimony from the Department of Small Business Services and really appreciate the Commissioner being here today. And we look forward to asking questions to the additional city agencies that are present. I similarly look forward to hearing from small businesses and advocates on today's legislation. And I want to thank Nicole Kata and Rebecca Barilla from Central Staff for their work putting this hearing together, as well as my Chief of Staff, Jonathan Shutt, and Legislative and Budget Director, Brandon Jordan, for their assistance. I do just want to add that this issue of the reducing fines is very personal to me. I am a former small business owner, so I know how much this matters to small businesses. I also used to serve as DCWP Commissioner manner, where we launched a small business relief package, where we instituted 25 reforms and were able to lower fines on small businesses by 1/3 where there was no consumer harm. So I'm very passionate about this subject and really excited about today's hearing. Before we turn it over to the committee counsel to administer the oath, I see we've been joined by our public advocate, and I want to turn it over to him to make some comments, and also want to recognize my colleague, Councilmember Marjorie Velasquez.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and I want to align myself with the words you just said. As a former small business owner myself, I know how impactful those fines could be, and anything we can do to help our small businesses would be helpful. My name is Jamani Williams, and I'm the public advocate for the City of New York. Again, I want to thank Chair Menon and members of the Committee on Small Business for holding this hearing today. I'm here to advocate on behalf of Resolution 0243, which calls on the New York State Legislature to pass and the Governor to sign Senate Bill S2632 and its accompaniment Assembly Bill A2443. These bills will prohibit the use of a confession of judgment in a contract or agreement for a financial product or service. Confessions of judgment lend themselves to the facilitation of predatory lending practices. In spirit, if not the letter of the law, they often violate the principle of due process for someone by waiving their right to assert a robust defense in court regarding debt assigned to them by a creditor. In 2019, New York State limited the use of confessions of judgment against out-of-state debtors. On the federal level, the use of confessions of judgment has long since been prohibited for consumer loans, yet the practice remains legal for business loans. At a 2019 Forum on Small Business Financing, Rohit Chopra, who was then Commissioner of the United States Federal Trade Commission, called for the elimination of confessions of judgment in the small business lending contracts. That same year, Governor Cuomo signed into law S6395 A7500A, amending Section 3218 of New York City's Civil Practice Law and rules to mitigate and remedy abuses in the uses of confessions of judgment by creditors against out-of-state debtors. Resolution 0243 seeks to build on this progress and end the loophole that enables creditors within New York State to obtain a judgment against borrowers without any further notification, and furthermore, legally seize the assets of borrowers without a court proceeding. These bills will help protect the bills I mentioned in the state will help protect small businesses from predatory lenders that offer loans and cash advances on the condition of a signed confession of judgment. I urge the Council to pass the resolution, close the loophole, and protect everyday New Yorkers from this predatory lending practice. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Public Advocate. And now I'm going to turn it over to Committee Counsel to administer the oath.
Thank you, Chair Menon. We will now hear testimony from the administration. Before we begin, I will administer the affirmation. Panelists, please raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this committee, and to respond honestly to council member questions?
I do.
I do.
Thank you. You may begin when ready.
Good afternoon, Chair Menon and members of the Committee on Small Business and Public Advocate Williams. My name is Kevin D. Kim, and I am the Commissioner of the New York City Department of Small Business Services, or SBS. I am joined by First Deputy Commissioner Jackie Mallon and colleagues from our sister agencies. We are pleased to offer our support for Intro 845, which implements Mayor Eric Adams' Small Business Forward initiative. SBS's mission is to unlock New York City's economic potential and create economic security for all New Yorkers by connecting them to good jobs, creating stronger businesses, and building thriving, vibrant neighborhoods. On just day 4 of his administration, Mayor Eric Adams demonstrated his strong and clear commitment to New York City's small business community by signing Executive Order 2, or EO2, also known as Small Business Forward. With this executive order, Mayor Adams directed 6 agencies: the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection, the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, the Department of Buildings, the Department of Sanitation, the Department of Environmental Protection, and the Fire Department to overhaul regulations impacting small businesses, cut down on fines and penalties, and ignite a paradigm shift which places education over enforcement. As a result, this administration identified over 100 reforms to save small businesses more than $8 million per year. These reforms, which focus on reducing fine schedules, creating cure periods, and implementing warnings to first-time violators who are not endangering public health or safety, will allow small businesses to continue to lead our economic recovery efforts. Every dollar that a small business spends on a penalty is a dollar that could have been invested in staff or upgrades in business processes. Every minute that a small business spends on navigating the city's sometimes complex rules and regulations is time that could be used to better serve their customers. That is why the passage of Intro 845 is so important. This initiative saves businesses both time and money. SBS is proud of the role SBS is proud of the role we've played in this process, and we are eager to continue the work of making New York City a city of yes for small businesses. We are revamping our New York City business portal, expanding the reach of our New York City Business Express Service team. That'll help businesses avoid fines and violations, and we are giving voice to small business owners through our Small Business Advisory Commission. I would like to take a moment to recognize and thank Chair Menon for sponsoring this bill and being such a consistent partner in our agency's efforts to help clear hurdles for all of our small businesses. I also want to thank our sister agencies for all the work they put into this effort. Together, we are sending a message that New York City is not only open for business, but is committed to propelling small businesses forward. Thank you, and I look forward to answering any questions you may have.
Great. Thank you so much, Commissioner, for your testimony today. I do have a number of questions, and I'm sure my colleagues have questions as well. So SBS was a chair for the working group that required submission of city agencies under Executive Order 2 to review and reform compliance costs of businesses. How did SBS decide which amendment should be included in Intro 845?
Thank you, Chair Menon, for that question. The way we did this was in the executive order, it asked us to look at the top 25 violations imposed on small businesses by the regulatory agencies you see here today, as well as DOT and DOB who are not here. We looked at those 25 most imposed violations. Then we went further and we looked at additional violations that were unnecessarily burdening small businesses while not endangering public health and safety. So through that exercise, we came up with this list.
And was it a unanimous decision that was required among the working group members to reject a recommended amendment from an agency?
It was a very collaborative process. There was a lot of back and forth between the agencies and the work within the working group, and we were able to come to a consensus on which of these violations we wanted to reform to better serve small businesses.
And what does SBS believe in terms of the impact to small businesses from this bill?
We think the impact will be extremely meaningful. As I mentioned in the testimony, we anticipate that there would be over $8 million per year of savings for small businesses. At the same time, we also know that there's a lot of challenges for small businesses, especially immigrant-owned small businesses, in interacting with agencies. And we believe that this bill will also improve the communication and the relationships that exist between small business owners and our agencies.
And are there any other potential effects of implementing this bill that have not been discussed?
We believe that the overall impact will be extremely positive and meaningful, and look forward to implementing all of these as soon as the bill is passed.
Are there other violations you believe should be included in Intro 845?
The violations that exist on the books are thousands and thousands, and so we know that in a short period of time, we couldn't review every single violation, but we did want to start with the ones that were the most burdensome on small businesses. The mayor put together a small business advisory commission last fall that is diligently working on looking at all other violations and continuing the work that we started here with Small Business Forward.
And if this bill is passed, how will SBS notify small businesses about this?
One of the real positives from SBS's work last year in improving and reorganizing into a specific outreach team from our organization, we've been able to extend the reach of communicating all of the programs and policies that the city has to a larger portion of the small business community. So we already, of course, have our extensive bid network and our strong partnerships with the chambers of commerce, and not just the 5 main borough chambers of commerce, but all the other chambers of commerce that exist, and then the merchant associations as well. So we know that we have an extensive reach, and we'll work with the council members as well through your extensive reach into the community to get the word out about all of these great changes that are coming.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Does SBS know how much money is owed to the city by small businesses for unpaid civil penalties? And if so, how much is that amount?
That is a very difficult number to track. So at this time, I would say we don't have that information. I think there's a number of challenges. First, trying to figure out what's defined as a small business in some ways, and that's something we're working on with the New York City Business Portal as well. But I think the challenge of knowing that total amount is something that is not easily in reach at this time.
Okay. I have questions for sanitation, for DOH, and other agencies. So maybe we can pause at this moment, and I want to see if my colleague, Councilmember Velasquez, has any questions for SBS at this time. Okay, great. So I have questions for sanitation, so maybe we could bring up sanitation as well. That would be great. And I want to note we've been joined by Majority Whip Selena Brooks Powers. So in terms of sanitation, so sections 7 and 8 of Intro 845 would amend 16-401 of the admin code to rescind provisions relating to plastic straws, such as the prohibition on providing plastic straws that are used from the restaurant, and the requirement for certain restaurants to provide a receptacle exclusively for the disposal of compostable beverage straws. Does sanitation expect any projected environmental effects from these provisions, and if so, what are they?
Thank you, Chair Menon, for that. Thank you for inviting us to this hearing. So as far as the implications of this, I think actually the implications are net positive all around. What we're trying to do is simplify the straw bill to focus on the 2 sort of core principles. One, that no plastic straws are provided except when requested by the customer, and 2, that any customer that requests a plastic straw is provided with one.
Okay, and what about any effects, potential effects on consumers with disabilities of these changes related to the plastic straws?
Yeah, so I think the bottom line here is we are continuing the requirement that all establishments must provide a plastic straw upon request, and all of the remedies under city human rights law continue to apply.
Okay, and in terms of how many violations are issued annually by sanitation, and of the penalties imposed, what percentage are actually collected?
So in terms of total violations across residential and commercial establishments, it's around 295,000 last year. Most of those are core cleaning violations, things like dirty sidewalk, failure to clean, failure to store your receptacle. As far as what's collected, it's just under 60% of summonses are paid, and then most of the remainder is either docketed or in default.
Okay. Are there any concerns with the penalty changes outlined in Intro 845 that are relevant to sanitation? And if so, what are they?
No, there are no concerns.
No. Okay. And do you feel that there are any obstacles to implementing Intro 845?
No.
And how will the agency notify small businesses of this?
Yeah, so the changes here primarily relate to our commercial recycling, organics, and straws bills, which is something, which is a space where we're doing a lot of outreach right now. So we will incorporate these changes into that outreach. I think also the benefit of having this education first approach with the $0 first-time penalties will allow us to have those conversations with commercial establishments outside of an enforcement context.
Okay. All right. I'm going to move on to DOHMH. Are they here? Great. Thank you so much. Okay. Hello. Oh, do you need to do this one? Yeah. We should.
Before we begin, I can administer the oath. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this committee, and to respond honestly to council member questions? Thank you. You may begin when you're ready.
Okay, thank you so much. So Section 13 of Intro 845 would amend 17-1702A of the Admin Code to allow a pet shop to collect required information about the source of a dog or cat by sworn affidavit from the source. Has the administration discussed this provision with animal rights advocates?
Yes, we have. So when we promulgated proposed rules, obviously that process allows for public comment, and at least two animal advocate organizations, the New York chapter of the Humane Society of the United States and the Shelter Reform Action Committee, among other entities describing themselves as animal advocates, provided comments, and these two organizations testified in support of those rules.
Okay, thank you. And Section 13 of the bill would amend 17-1903 of the code to reduce to $400 the minimum penalty for a restaurant violating the prohibition on selling force-fed products. Does the administration know what percentage of restaurants are affected by the foie gras fines?
So this law actually has been enjoined and never went into effect, so we don't have that data.
Okay. So with the temporary injunction on enforcing foie gras that is still in place, has the fine become relevant to New York City restaurants or no?
The fine's currently not relevant,
No.
but if the city was able to implement the local law, then it would be relevant.
Okay. And how many violations are issued annually by DOHMH?
I actually do not have that information with me today, but I'm happy to follow up with the council.
Yeah, if you could get that to the committee, please, as well as the violations that are issued and of the penalties imposed, what percentage are actually collected? And are they typically collected in the calendar year that they are issued? So if you could please provide those three. And then lastly, are there concerns with the penalty changes outlined in Intro 845?
No concerns.
Okay. Okay, I'm now going to turn it over to my colleagues to see if they have any questions. So Majority Whip, questions? Great.
Thank you, and I apologize if some of the questions may be a little redundant, but I had a few questions for SBS. The first one was executive order to require various agencies to look at whether various provisions were necessary to promote an important public purpose. Can you elaborate on how the determination was made as to whether a provision served as an important public purpose?
Absolutely. So this was a very collaborative process, and from SBS's perspective, we were obviously advocating, and after surveying a large number of small business owners, bringing issues that were impacting them in a real-time, real-life basis. And the agencies who were the subject matter experts on the various issues would then enter into a discussion with us in the working group, and together we came up with a consensus of the list of violations that we deemed to be reformable in whatever way was possible, whether it was to eliminate them from the books altogether, whether it was to reduce the fines, or whether it was to provide a cure warning period. And those ways we were really focused on emphasizing education first over fines first. And that's how we came to this process.
Thank you. And EO2 also required examining whether the amount of the penalty was appropriate to achieve the public purpose sought. Can you go into more detail on how an agency determined whether an amount was appropriate, and was there some kind of formula used to determine the appropriateness?
During this process, during the very collaborative process and full cooperation of the agencies, they were able to look at each of their data sets and look at the number of violations, the number of repeat violations that happened based on however much fines or penalties were imposed the first time around. And again, with the lens of really focusing on education first for the small businesses, we were able to come up with a number that we believe will still bring businesses into compliance, which is extremely important, but do it through an education first mentality.
Thank you. In my final section of questions, I want to ask a few quick questions about the provisions enforced by the Department of Transportation that are addressed in sections 1 and 2 of this legislation. So in section 1, it would amend the admin code to reduce the civil penalties for failure to maintain a roster of bicycle operators. Can you elaborate on why this change was needed? And then in section 2, would similarly reduce the penalty for failure to post required signage outlining bicycle safety procedures. Can you elaborate on why this change was needed? And lastly, only 2 provisions related to the Department of Transportation were included in this review, and DOT was not included in the initial EO as an agency that would have to review provisions issued to businesses. Can you explain why this was the case?
Absolutely. So the 2 reforms that you're referring to, we believe that it is important for businesses to be in compliance on these 2 violations, but we also believe that currently it's a $100 first violation, and to really, again, help educate a lot of these business owners, many of them who are immigrant small business owners who just don't know the rules. We made the first violation to be $0 instead of $100. But of course, in future violations, then they would be paying fines. But the compliance, the importance of compliance was never lost on this group. We knew that these rules are in place for a very good reason. At the same time, we know that small business owners, they just want to do what they do best, which is run their business, provide services, a diverse, unique set of services for the city of New York, and that just knowing more about the thousands of regulations that are out there that they have to go through to understand that this education first approach would be most effective. And then to answer your question about DOT not being part of the executive order but being added on, I think what we really wanted to do was take a holistic approach and continue to look at all the agencies that impact small businesses, not just the ones that were originally put into the executive order, and that's how we brought in DOT. And then finally, we are continuing this review of all violations through our Small Business Advisory Commission, which is made up of 49 members, all throughout the 5 boroughs, a very diverse group of businesses, a very diverse group of people who've been in business for different number of years, employ a very diverse number of people. Some are solopreneurs, to some having 100 employees. And so that work of continuing to look at every violation where we can make reforms to alleviate the burden on small businesses even continues today and will be ongoing.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. And I'm now going to call on Councilmember Marjorie Velasquez, but first I want to recognize our colleague, Councilmember Darlene Mealy has joined us.
Thank you, Chair. So, Commissioner, we discussed compliance at length just now and education and awareness. How much are we focused on language access and making sure that we're approaching people where they're at and their cultural competency, if you will?
Absolutely. So everything we do at SBS is about trying to get the message out to the historically underserved communities, and that includes communities that have not had access to the languages that they need. So, for example, when we did the Opportunity Loan Fund, we went beyond the required law of having the 10 languages, having the services in those languages to, I believe it was 17 or more documents in place at launch. And so that's, I think, just an example of how much of a focus we give to language access, and that any of these changes that happen, we expect to be able to get the word out into the communities using our community partners to provide the in-language information they need.
Thank you so much.
Councilmember Mealy, do you have any questions?
I just have one. Thank you, Chair. I was thought about when the fines, what's the grace period that you would give store owners? And if they could not comply, and if it could lead to them losing their business, what apparatus do you have in place that can maybe save a small business that does not have the funds to pay for the fine, and maybe they were warned twice? So what do you have in place to make sure that we keep our small businesses? They are the heartbeat of America.
Absolutely, Council Member. Thank you for that question, and we agree with you that small businesses are the heartbeat of America, of New York City, of all of our commercial corridors and neighborhoods. The way we looked at grace periods was with each of the agencies, because they're the subject matter experts, and so we had a very collaborative process where we discussed what would be a reasonable time to give a small business owner. Whatever was there currently, we tried to expand out, adding whether it was 15 or 30 more days. Wherever we could, we tried to expand that out. Where there were cases where there were no cure periods or warning periods, we did find dozens of those that we were able to put into this bill and through other rulemaking processes. So we think that the grace periods that were put in are just the right amount of time for businesses to be able to either get educated on what they need to get into compliance and then get into compliance so as to avoid all these fines. We're hoping that this education first emphasis that we put on we're putting on through all of our various programs. For example, SBS has compliance advisors that will go out now with all of our services to say, we will do a free walk around with you through your store. And if one of the regulatory agencies did come in for an inspection, here is where you would get fined. But they obviously wouldn't get fined when they're going through this walkthrough with our compliance advisors. So a lot of it is preventive, a lot of it is education first, and we believe what we have now will go a long way in saving small businesses up to $8 million per year through this effort.
Could I ask, if they do not have the funds,
Right.
will you give them the grace period and then help them get a small business loan, maybe? Do you have an apparatus in place? We're trying to save the average man and woman small business owner.
So SBS has a very robust capital access program. We have a network of over 40 CDFIs that
Will the
work
small
with us.
business owner know how to do that?
We will help them through that. If they, through this education process, it's not only about educating them about what compliance they need to be in, what rules they need to know not to violate, but also to understand what SBS's full services are. So the compliance advisors, as well as our capital access team and their advisory services, we are going to make a big effort. We continue to make big effort every day to make sure that all the communities in New York City who have been historically underserved know about those particular services.
Yeah, I have one last question. I didn't read this NYC Bid Association, but have you assessed all the bids in different neighborhoods to see how, because I see one of my colleagues is joining a couple of bids, Farrah Lewis. They're making 3 bids into one. What is your take on that? Do you think that is best for the districts, or should they stay separate?
I think the bids are very important organizations and associations that exist to help our commercial corridors thrive. And so SBS works with and manages the 76 bids. We have a strong partnership with all of our bids, and they work with us to tell us what they think is best for their community, and we work with them. So in this particular case that you're talking about, where 3 bids are being combined into one, I think that a lot of it is driven from them as well, and there's been positive response to it.
Okay, thank you, because I feel the bids, we need more bids, I believe, but we need the people to run them also.
Yes.
So that would be good for the city in whole. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm so glad that you asked that question, Councilmember, and I want to make sure you know that we work to get the administration to allocate money to smaller bids. So 35 of the smaller bids that have a budget of, I believe it's $500,000 or less, are receiving direct city money. So this has never happened before. It's really fantastic, and I think it's a game changer for small businesses because these bids can help to market and promote them. So just want to make sure you're aware of that. I have a few questions for DEP, so could we bring DEP up? Thank you so much, and we'll do the honors.
And before we begin with questioning, I will administer the oath of affirmation. So if you could please raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this committee and to respond honestly to council member questions?
I do.
Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. So Section 22 would repeal 24-2018.1 of the Admin Code, which restricts the use of mobile telephones in places of public performance, as well as associated penalties. How many penalties yearly does DEP issue related to mobile telephones in places of public performance?
We haven't issued any.
Okay. So I assume, well, I don't want to assume, why does DEP believe this provision is necessary to amend under Intro 845?
Sure, thank you for that question, Council Member. So overall, we've made these changes, including this one to the noise code section of our admin code, just to clarify the code overall, streamline it, make it easier for people to understand and comply with.
Okay. Now, Section 23 would amend 24-233 of the code to remove the prohibition on unreasonable noise from a personal audio device. How many penalties yearly does DEP issue related to that?
Yes. So first, I just want to clarify for the record that this provision amends one portion within 24-233. It doesn't remove that section entirely. And so the section that's being removed by this bill, we also have not issued any violations for.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't hear that again. Could you just speak closer to the microphone?
Of course.
Yeah, thanks. You could.
We have not issued any summons for this
You've not.
section that's being affected.
Okay. So what enforcement mechanisms can the City of New York use to manage noise complaints if this section is repealed?
Well, I just want to repeat again for the record that this is not repealing the entire section,
Correct.
Just a provision within the section.
But just that one provision. Got
Yes.
it.
And so the bulk of the noise code that is consistently used will still be in effect.
And how many violations are issued annually by DEP?
The total overall, I don't have with me. I'll have to follow up with you for that one.
Okay, if you could get that to the committee, really, again, that's the type of information I've asked of some of the other agencies, and of the penalties imposed, what percentage are actually collected, and are they typically collected in the calendar year that they are issued? That would be very helpful.
Yes, we will get back to you with that.
Are there any concerns with the penalty changes outlined in Intro 845 relevant to DEP?
No.
And any obstacles in implementing this bill?
No, we don't expect any.
Okay. Are there any additional DEP violations related to small businesses that should be considered for amendment under Intro 845?
No, we think the list that's included is a good list.
Okay, great. Those are my questions. Any questions, colleagues? No? No questions? Okay. No? Okay. And then I've got some questions for DCWP, so that would be great. All right.
And before we begin with questioning, I will administer the oath of affirmation. If you could please raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this committee and to respond honestly to council member questions?
I do.
Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. So a provision of this legislation would set an initial civil penalty of $0 for failing to provide consumer bill of rights regarding tax preparers to a client. So I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it for the record. Does DCWP make the consumer bill of rights available to tax preparers?
Yes, Councilmember, we do. We are required to post it in the city record annually.
Right.
We also make it available on our website. Frequently, we have tax preparers reach out to our community affairs team with requests for the Bill of Rights. And lastly, we do bring it to outreach events that are business-facing.
And in terms of providing the Bill of Rights, what languages is it in? And is that posting it in other languages, is that the responsibility of tax preparers?
So the Bill of Rights is available in 11 languages. We have produced those translations. And yes, the taxpayers do have to post the Bill of Rights in their place of business and provide it to the consumer.
And has DCWP received feedback on any inaccessibility related to assessing this consumer Bill of Rights?
I think with respect to if they're not receiving it from the tax preparer, if we receive that complaint, we would inspect that complaint. And with respect to maybe a constituent that's coming towards us to request a Bill of Rights, we would facilitate making sure that they got a hard copy or whatever was most convenient for them.
All right. Another provision of the bill would repeal subchapter 9 of chapter 5 of Title 20 of the Admin Code that regulates the sale of travel tickets. Why does the administration seek to repeal this particular provision of the code?
I think with respect to this industry, it's not necessarily as common as it once was. And along those lines, we haven't seen a lot of complaints from them, and we have recognized that there is less consumer harm with respect to this provision.
And another provision of the bill would repeal subchapter 15 of chapter 5 of Title 20 of the Admin Code, and that particular provision regulates disclosure of certain information by child care facilities. Why does the administration seek to repeal that particular provision?
So these disclosures in this subchapter are actually duplicative of current DOHMH enforcement efforts. And along those lines, I guess, as part of this process of reviewing laws that could be amended or repealed, I think redundancies in agencies was one aspect of our review. So we feel DOHMH is best suited for this type of work, and they have no objections to this repeal.
One concern I did have that I want to make sure that we get a clear answer for is a provision that would set an initial civil penalty of $0 for selling expired over-the-counter medication. What does the agency believe would be the effect on consumers, particularly those with limited English proficiency?
Well, with respect to consumers, our understanding is that there's not significant consumer harm from over-the-counter medications that have passed an expiration date. That said, I would want to reiterate that this is just for the first-time violation. If a business is repeatedly violating this, they will be issued higher and higher penalties. So along those lines, we feel it is a reasonable amendment that balances both small business, business-friendly reforms, but as well consumer protection.
And is there any concern with compromising the safety of consumers by reducing penalties for selling expired over-the-counter medication?
We do not have concerns with reducing the first-time penalty for this particular violation.
And is there any reason why this provision wasn't this provision amended to include an accepted expiration time limit eligible for those penalty reductions, such as, for example, 6 months post-expiration, instead of including all expired medication?
I think in terms of the provision itself that we were amending, we were seeking something streamlined that was easy for business to understand. Again, we don't feel that there's a significant consumer harm here, which is, of course, what helped give us perspective on all of our reviews here.
Okay, thank you. And then last question, which I've asked all the agencies, how many violations are issued annually by DCWP?
In 2022, we issued about 11,000 summonses. Since I know that the other question's coming, we've also collected about $12 million in 2022 as well.
Okay, great. And those are all typically collected in the calendar year, correct?
I'm not sure about that. I think it could differ.
If you could get that
Yeah.
to the
but
committee?
Generally, it's possible that it could roll over from a previous year, but I can certainly get you some more information on that as well.
Okay, great, thank you. Councilmember Mealy, any questions?
I just had one. You said redundancy. What was redundant?
So, excuse me. I think when I was speaking toward the repeal of certain disclosures that are currently duplicative of DOHMH's enforcement efforts in that space, that was redundant, and I think we've made a decision in the administration that it makes more sense for DOHMH to enforce those provisions than us.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, wonderful. That concludes my questions. We have no members of the public that have signed up to speak. We have a number who have submitted written testimony, which we have, but I really want to thank the commissioner and the administration, all the city agencies who have been here today. I think it's incredibly exciting to have this bill move forward in terms of really helping small businesses in a very meaningful way. So I really want to thank all the agencies for being here. Thank you so much, and then this concludes our hearing.
Thank you.